Hi guys, happy Wednesday. Welcome to the morning after. I am your host Sharleen Joynt, and today we are recapping both parts of the Bachelor season 23 finale. This is both Monday and Tuesday nights worth 4 hours of television. There's a lot to cover. As you know, we start off every recap with a moment that delivered, and this is of course brought to you by Skip the Dishes. And if you're Canadian, you definitely know Skip the Dishes. They deliver food to your door. You can just stay in the comfort of your own home, and it's a wonderful, wonderful invention. So my moment that delivered actually is not from, you would think it would be from part 2 or the finale, perhaps when, I don't know, Cassie decided to get with Colton. But actually my moment that delivered is in part 1 on Monday night when Hannah G was just broken up with, and she gets in her car and the first thing she says, she sits down and she's like, I'm not talking. Oh, she says, I don't want to talk about anything. And then she just goes like this and just stays like that the whole time. I loved this moment because she has no control over anything in this moment. She's just been broken up with. She has had the rug fully ripped out from under her. And I feel like everything she was led to believe was going to happen is not happening. And I love how she seizes the only power she can in this moment by not, melting down even more, giving them the great TV that they would want, and just talking more about something she probably doesn't want to talk about. So I just love that she took control of that situation. That was this week's. Out of 4 hours, that was my moment that delivered. So there's a lot to cover today. So I'm just going to power through and start with Monday night's finale. So we pick up where we left off with Colton walking down a Portuguese street. He's furious. It's clear he's furious at production. I talked about this in my Flair recap yesterday, but it's interesting how they kind of skewed it to make it seem like he was actually more furious or like more upset, like in a state of heartbreak. Of course, I think overall he's more upset about the heartbreak. Like, this would not be an issue. He wouldn't be upset at production if it all worked out in his favor. That said, in this moment, he's very furious at production, and it's funny how they just sort of skimmed that part over. And then of course Chris Harrison says, where do we go from here? Will Colton still find love? And what about his virginity? This just drove me crazy. It's like, is this really the time to be wondering about Colton's virginity? Like, who cares? I think he has bigger issues to deal with. I mean, obviously that's not the only time that happened. So first, Colton has to break up with Tayshia. My God, what a lovely woman she is. She's so nurturing, and somehow in this moment, she ends up comforting him more than he's comforting her. And it reminded me actually of just before when Cassie was the one being comforted, even though she was the one doing the breaking up. Anyway, Tayshia is just, what a sweetheart. I mean, she makes this as easy for him as humanly possible. I love that she said, can I get away from these cameras? And he's like, sure. And they just did what they want here. And it just felt more humane all around that they would have this breakup and they would cry and everything behind a literal closed door. And in the hot seat, more classy Tayshia. Her final words are about wishing him the best, hoping he's happy, cherishing their experiences together. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. She makes this as easy for him as humanly possible. Next up, Hannah G. As a nice contrast to Tayshia, Hannah G is like legitimately pissed, and I quite enjoyed this. I find it represents how a lot of people would feel in this situation. You know, if you feel you've been led on and then the person breaks up with you, you could take the high road and be like, okay, I wish you the best. But, a lot of us would be pissed. And I love how Hannah G represented that majority, probably, of the population. And of course, Colton, I realize he's reaching for things to try and make it better, but saying things like, I thought it was gonna be you, and I don't know if I'm making the right decision, are not super helpful and not probably what she wants to hear in that moment. But I understand he was trying his best. In the hot seat, God, this was nice to get a feeling for Hannah G's personality. I mean, she's super well-spoken and super real, and I just feel like we didn't really, she's been mostly seen as, we just haven't gotten to know her. I don't have any bad or good feelings about Hannah G's personality. I think she's gorgeous, and obviously they have great chemistry, but beyond that, we haven't seen her shine that much. And I fully, for the record, think that's the editing, and that's just the edit she's been getting. It has nothing to do with her, because she hasn't done anything wrong. It's just we don't see enough of her. And what I like about Hannah G here is that she really does hold Colton responsible. She doesn't let him off the hook the way Tayshia did. And it's different from Tayshia. It's just as valid. They're just different. And I thought it was nice that they sort of covered the two different reactions one could have in that territory, because it could have been they just could have both reacted the same way, and then that would have been kind of boring. Okay, the end of that episode is Colton goes to knock on Cassie's door, and shocking, we're left with a cliffhanger. Okay, so now to last night's episode, the part 2 of the finale. So Colton knocks on Cassie's door, and she doesn't look remotely surprised, something I found a bit fishy. I'm trying to think of the timeline here. You know, if she had gone home, let's say on a Monday night, he breaks up with the 2 women on, let's say, the Tuesday, is he knocking on her door that same day, like before she's flown out, or is it the following day? It seems kind of crazy to think that all 3 of those would happen in one day, but it's possible. In general, this just felt fishy timing-wise, like she had been given some sort of a heads up. She was not surprised enough, in my opinion, that he was knocking on her door. It just felt like there was something we were missing. They talk, Colton pours his heart out, he's very sweet about it, he tells her that he broke up with the other women, and he loves her, he's willing to take whatever he can get, and Cassie's response is, I'm so nervous right now. I wrote in my notes, I feel for Cassie, I do, and I understand being caught off guard. I just think that there is a way to go about receiving information, especially so much like effusiveness, and it does not involve making it about you and how confused you are, or how overwhelmed you are, or how you don't know. In general, that seems to be her default, and I understand that she's doing it in like a deflecting way, but that's something that is not, as a viewer, super endearing. Just saying. And then that moment ends with, she's like, I'm so confused, and Colton's like, don't say that. And she said, I just mean I don't know what's happening. And I wrote in my notes, take deep breaths. Okay, so then Colton makes Cassie meet his family in Spain, because what better way to solidify your relationship than to go and meet his entire family when you don't even know yet if you're boyfriend and girlfriend. I assumed they were boyfriend and girlfriend, but it came out on this meet the parents moment that they don't even know that. I do feel for Cassie here. This is a super tough situation for her. I mean, her actions and her are being dissected, and what she's done and how she feels moving forward, when really, yeah, she probably wants to date the guy casually, and it's just a lot probably to take in. That said, I think there are a few things she could have done differently here. First, with his father, she says, I want him to be with someone who's insanely in love with him. This is to his father. And then to his mom, she says, we're on different pages. I think she's almost being too honest, if I'm honest. She could have just said, I couldn't see myself getting there with 2 other women. Like, I'm excited to just date him and see where this goes. She was just sort of a little too honest. I understand that could be a production thing too, some pressure to be as honest as she was for the drama and, you know, the ominous music and all that. But in general, I kind of wish she just sort of said less. I think saying less in that situation would have served her. And then you guys were subjected to another date. This is the longest finale. It felt like there was not enough content to fill this many hours of television. And I wrote in my notes, and this is honest to God truth, if I didn't have to recap this for you, I would have fast forwarded through quite a bit of last night. It was just so boring. It was the same stuff over and over again. Why do we have to watch them go on a date? There's no one else. There's no one else. They don't have to go on a date and have him discuss, like, so why can't you see yourself getting there with me? And you just don't need to talk about it anymore. All we needed to see was them get back together and then skip to the present day and find out if they're still together. And then, okay, oh my God, fantasy suite. It's once again all about his virginity. How about just letting this couple just figure I wrote shit out. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on Facebook Live, but how about just letting them figure their shit out and just be. Oh man. Okay, vent session over. We're now in the present day. After the final rose, if we can say that. I mean, there ended up being a final rose, so. I love that they're keeping up with the tradition of showing the Happy Couples Weekend. I think this is so nice, and it gives us some perspective as to like how they work, and it really did, in my case anyway, endear me to them. They legitimately seem really happy together. I'm a bit surprised and I think a lot of America was, but you know what, good for them. I love that they're not rushing anything, they're not moving in together, they're not doing, you know, it's just like, let them be a happy couple for a while. I do remain a bit skeptical just because there are so many reasons why it would serve her in particular to be together. But you know, the only proof, like the proof will be in the pudding, and that will be delivered with time. And so we'll just see how this goes for the two of them. Congratulations to the happy couple. And then finally we get the announcement that Hannah B is our Bachelorette. And to be honest, I'm into this partly because I was just so excited to move on from Cassie and Colton. I was just so over watching them talk about their feelings and their relationship, especially since I mean, he's not bad, but really Cassie describing her feelings is really, it kind of takes a while, and at the end you're not really sure what she said. And so moving on to Hannah B, it was just refreshing. This was kind of a surprising choice, I think, especially since usually they take the future lead from the final four. But in general, I'm happy to see her. I think she has a lot of, what I love about Hannah B is how transparent she is. She's super vulnerable, and so we're not going to watch, you know, someone who's too perfect. I like that she has that relatable factor. And yeah, that's it. That's it. We made it. We made it to the end of this 4-hour, 2-part finale. Thank you guys for sticking with me. It got a little dicey there, especially last night when I almost turned my TV off. But thank you for tuning in with me. Be sure to read my Flair recap, which will come out shortly. My Pretty Pandas recap, which will come out probably in about a week's time. And thank you for tuning in with me all season. And I'll see you guys here for The Bachelorette in a couple months. Okay, bye.